When there's an injustice against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up. Don't sit down on them, if they need you.
Welcome to Popcorn Planet's Pop Culture Justice. I'm Andy Signor. So excited to be with you here today, and we got two wonderful guests to start the show. Steph, the alternate, is back, but look who's with us, Steph. So honored to have Daniel back, the black belt barrister himself. How you doing, sir?
I'm very good. How are you, my man?
Doing great. We're gonna have
Great.
Steph. Are you excited for this? We got one of your own barristers here to talk about
Steph,
Prince
here we go.
Harry and could he get deported?
Oh, good to see you too, Dan. And yeah, UK represent. I'm
Absolutely.
liking
Here in
this
spring.
setup. Let's go.
Yeah, well, it's weird. This is a story I've seen Steph talk about and others online. This has been something I've seen you do it too, sir. You've gotten a lot of people have been really all about this story, and I was just sort of confused. I'm like, is he really going to get deported? What's actually going on here? So very happy to have Daniel here and Steph to break down the latest as we talk about, is this actually going to happen? So before we get to what happened, I think so here's the latest news. The reason we're talking about this today is because there's now a new legal threat. A challenge has come in. The Heritage Foundation has pushed to get the forms, the visa applications, etc., that would clarify whether Harry lied in coming to, get his visa here in the States. And I guess to show sort of the most important, here's the latest complaint, but Daniel, screen cap this because these are the two questions that one needs to answer in coming in to the country. Have you ever been a drug abuser or addict? Yes or no? Explain. Have you ever violated or engaged in a conspiracy to violate or any law related to controlled substances? Giving others certain illicit things could obviously mean that's a yes. And Steph, I guess let me, just to help clarify before we get Daniel's expertise, Harry has admitted to both of these things in his book Spare, correct?
Correct. Again, what I'm about to say, YouTube human review, we have to be very careful in terms of what words we say, but he has admitted to using a bit of the cokey, a bit of the green stuff, and also the ayahuasca plant situation. He's admitted to at least 3 of those, saying that at least with that plant in particular, it helped him with his mental health and all this lot. So yeah, he's been absolutely open about his past use in his book. And then further on from that, he did a big massive online therapy session with Dr. Gabor Mate, where he then turned around and elaborated even more about his usage of all this stuff. But the question is, when he completed his visa in regards to his immigration to the US, did he put it on that? Did he admit it all then as well?
That's the big question.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's like, I kind of don't care about whether he did some things. People do, and whether, you could even argue like, well, is he an abuser or an addict? But the point is, these forms are legally required, and you don't want to lie on these forms coming into the States. And so the question is, did he lie? So Daniel, I want to go back now straight to you, sort of, because I know you've talked about that. Yeah. In fact, you told us all that this was very possible this could happen. Now that they're actually an organization is pushing for these records, what is the likelihood of him actually potentially getting deported out of this? Can you explain it?
Yeah, I mean, well, the likelihood that comes out of it is it's very much down to the authorities. And I think it's going to follow to some extent public opinion based on what actually happens. And so when they look at what actually happened, this is obviously going to court now. So there's obviously going to have to be a court ruling on the request for the information. So winding back a little bit, the formal request, a freedom of information request, is different for, let's say, you as an individual, whether it's in the UK or whatever the equivalent is in the States. You as an individual have your own personal data, which companies store and process and whatever to market to you or just store your data. You can file a request with them to say, give me my data, show me what you have on me, what you've stored on me. If this is a public body, then anybody can go to a public body and say, give us the public information that you hold on this individual or this situation or whatever. There are certain things that they can say, that's restricted. We don't have to give you that information. And there are some cases where that happens. But in cases like this, the US has been notoriously open about the immigration documents, these applications that people file coming in, aliens as referred to, for a visa in the States, as to what they put on this form. And so reportedly, I've only seen this in the news, so full disclosure, but I've seen it in the news reported that within 24 hours or so, within the 20-day window that the Homeland Security had to respond to this request, said that they couldn't find the form. Now, if that's the case, I can't say for certain that that is the case, but if that is the case, I don't buy it. I don't buy that they just lost the form of one of the princes of England coming into the United States. I don't buy that. It's either it's been disclosed or to someone else and then not made public, or they've just decided not to disclose it at all. But now, because this Heritage Foundation just doesn't accept that, have gone to court and said, no, we want to see this. It's Freedom of Information Act. We are entitled to have this information made public. And now the court will have to rule on it. Now, that one page that you saw just now, that you brought up, is the first of about 1,400 pages. Now, as many legal documents do, and as many lawyers do, and I do it myself sometimes, they probably don't say much more than the first page. So we have a thing where, if someone asks for our opinion, we can tell you, the executive summary in 30 seconds is no. And then, a nine-page opinion that takes 3 days is still no. So this is probably very much the same. This one page is going to be, we want the Homeland Security to be compelled to provide the information as to how they decided whether he comes in or not. That's it. That's what this page says. And I suspect that the rest of the 1,400 pages says broadly the same thing, but with a lot more detail as to why they want it. So what happens then? Well, the court will have to rule. The court will have to make a ruling and say, right, well, you have to provide this information. Or the court may make a finding that, well, actually, there's some reason that you don't have to provide it. And then we fall back on public opinion. They either do or they don't provide it. But if they don't provide it, there'll be an even bigger pushback from public opinion. So why are, that speaks for itself. Why are you not providing the information? People will draw their own conclusion. But if they do provide it, then we fall into two different camps. And that's what we were talking about earlier. And Steph, explain what you see as the two different camps, of the two different outcomes that these documents might provide.
It's a double-edged sword. Either way, it's going to be a lose-lose for Prince Harry and the Department of Homeland Security, because either A, Prince Harry did not put on his past usage and the Homeland Security let him through on the immigration visa. And then the question is, well, hang on a minute. Why did you allow him through when he allegedly lied on the document, on the application? Or B, the application shows that, yeah, Prince Harry was absolutely honest, open, laid everything out on the line, said exactly what he's taken, his past usage, this, that, and the other. And then it's still a question of, well, hang on a minute. Based under US law, if he was a US citizen, he would have broken those laws so many times. Under your ruling, you wouldn't have let him in. So why did you let him in? It's a double-edged sword either way. Which is why I believe, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, when Department of Homeland Security initially turned around and said, we can't find the documents. I think that's exactly why, because they know they're in a corner no matter which way the outcome is. They're screwed.
Indeed. And because the US is notorious in two senses. First, in the sense that the transparency is everything when it comes to immigration. So they notoriously will provide this information to the public as to, maybe someone has declared something. Now, there'll be a lot of people watching that thinks, well, so what if you did? Don't care.
Right.
That's fine.
Hi, that's me. Who cares?
I mean, that's not the point. I mean, frankly, I don't condone it for the general public. And, I think there's obviously with what we do as a profession, we see a lot of the negative side that comes out of the trade of said stuff. So I do condemn it because I see that side of it.
100%. Yeah.
As for the individual, I don't really care. That's their choice. It's not my choice, and I wouldn't condone it for anybody else. But that's not really the big question here. The big question here is, what did he put on the form? And as Steph just said, it's a double-edged sword, lose-lose, because he was either honest about it or dishonest about it, based, you all understand, on what he has now put in his book Spare. And had he not done so, maybe this would have never been raised in the first place. But he chose to do that, as the papers have said, he chose to do that for massive commercial gain.
Well, that's just, I think, important to reiterate the fact that, yeah, this is only happening because he revealed to the use of these substances in a stupid book, like idiot, and didn't really think about what the consequences are. Same thing with the kills. He's done a lot of stuff, Steph, that I think he had foot and mouth of, like, was this book really worth it? And at the same time, though, these forms are interesting to me because, like, when I read this, it's like, have you ever been a drug abuser or addict? Like, if he did the Cokey Coke a couple times, few times, whatever, as a young kid, I wouldn't think that's a yes. Like, I can see that it's like, are you an alcoholic? Do you drink socially? Those are different things, right? So are you an abuser or an addict? To me, so I can understand that. Where it gets a little bit more questionable is, have you violated or engaged in conspiracy to violate any law related to controlled substances? So if he was giving the Cokey Coke to others, that then therefore it's a double whammy of, like, well, wait, and Steph, just to reiterate, there is stories in this book where he admits to giving it to friends.
Well, yes, but even let's say we take that out of the equation, right? And we just focus on Prince Harry as the person. The question is, have you ever violated or engaged in conspiracy? If you take out that middle bit or engaged in conspiracy to violate, and you just look at the question as, have you ever violated any law relating to controlled substances? Yes, he has. He's literally been in possession and taken controlled substances that would violate not only our law in the UK, but your laws in the US as well. So even if he could argue around, well, no, actually, I didn't. I elaborated for the book. I didn't really give them the controlled substances. They just saw it and they took it themselves. It was just available and they took it themselves. All right, even if you could argue around that, you can't argue the first part. Have you ever violated any law relating to controlled substances? He has. He's bang on admitted to it. So. Yeah.
And there's a lot of nuance here as well. It's not the question is not, have you ever been convicted of? So it's not as though it's asking, do you have a criminal history, a conviction history of anything to do with controlled substances? It's, have you violated or engaged in conspiracy to violate any law relating to these? So that could even be, for argument's sake, it could be somebody that provides somebody else any prescription medicine, or drives with prescription medicine over a certain limit. Because certainly in the UK, it's probably the same in the US, but we've got drug driving laws, not just drink driving. So if you're on a lot of mental health medicine, for example, there are very strict limits as to what you can drive with. And if you're over those limits, you're in breach of these laws, whether you're convicted or not. And that's the question. But then, as Steph pointed out, the conspiracy bit, a lot of people sort of hear conspiracy and think that it's to do with some, big criminal enterprise or whatever. And it's far simpler than that. It's literally, if somebody said, if somebody said to you, I'm going to go and, sort this person out, what do you have that I could go and do this with? And someone said, well, I've got a hammer here or whatever. And you hand them a hammer, knowing they're going to go and hurt somebody. You are a conspirator, and you've aided, abetted, assisted, and you're a conspirator because you helped do it. You don't even have to turn up. It's a bit like the getaway driver, or the person that drives you there. Or even if you phone somebody to bring it to you, or you give them the phone number and they ring the person and then they get it themselves. Any of those things bring you within that remit of a conspiracy to violate any law, much less than being arrested or even questioned by the police about it. So even with that first question, I don't think the first question is worded very well. Have you, as you rightly said, Andy, what is an addict? What is an abuser? How far do you go? As you say, people watching now might think, well, I drink every day. Does that make me an alcoholic? Well, no, not by most people's standards. I mean, I kid you not. We've had a court case before now. It was a family case in the UK. Court would not approve contact with the father, between the children and father, because he would not admit that 3 beers each night was abusing drink. He wouldn't accept that. He said, no, this is just a drink when I get home to relax. Now, a lot of people might be watching this thinking, yeah, that's abuse. And a lot of people thinking, 3, really? And they will think that that's ridiculous. So that's quite subjective. So I don't think that first question is worded very well. But the second one is absolutely unambiguous, is clear as day. Anyone that's done anything remotely like that will fall foul of this question if they don't answer it correctly.
Well, I mean, it does. Again, that's the issue here. And of course, Harry's made his own enemies and people are always trying to get him. And so this is an opportunity to do that. This, to me, seems silly. People have done substances, and that doesn't mean they should be ignored from the country. But at the same time, that's what the laws are. So again, he may have answered honestly, in which case then they decided, well, okay, you did it some recreation, whatever. You did it socially a few times, fine. They may have let it go, but that's really the issue at hand. Did he lie? Did they just ignore it because he was the prince? Why was he allowed to get a U.S. visa is now what the question is that people are asking, because the fact that he admitted to all these uses is now problematic given that it affects his entry. So again, lesson learned here. Be careful, guys, when you write your books on what the actual revelations you're going to reveal could actually do. And given all the eyes on him, you'd think his legal team would have been a little bit more on top of this to say, hey, Harry, we got to be careful here. We're going to talk about this a bit more. We're not done, but I do want to clip it here, and I want to make sure I also promote our friend here, Black Belt Barrister. Make sure you go over to YouTube and check out the Black Belt Barrister himself as he breaks down lots of interesting stuff for you. Make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already. Go do it. Also subscribe to Steph the Alternate as well. We are still live and we got some more stuff to talk about, but I'm trimming it here. If you want to watch the full show, consider hitting that join button. Become a member, pick a tier, and you'll be able to watch the full unedited replays at your leisure. Appreciate you guys as you do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Live viewers, let's get going.